Hi, I'm Jorge Antonio Vallejos, and you're watching BlackCoffeePoet.com and the Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel. Welcome. I am the Black Coffee Poet. So excited to have you here. It's my newest reading list. I make a reading list every season, and I'm just really happy to be here in front of you telling you what I'm reading. And this is a follow up, a companion to a post I put up on blackcoffeepoet.com on Wednesday. So I'm really happy to be here and showing you what's going to be entering the mind and heart of Black Coffee Poet via books, real books, books made of paper. Okay, so let's start off. I've got a whack of books of poetry, and I'm going to share them with you right now. So this is called After and Before the Lightning by Simon J. Ortiz. Simon Ortiz is from Acoma Pueblo. He's actually one of my teachers. I had the privilege of studying with Simon Ortiz in 2008. And this is a book about one of his winters that he spent on a reservation in the US. And it's a beautiful book. This is a reread. I've read this before already, but I'm a rewriter and I'm a rereader. That's what readers and writers do. And one of the poems in here, which is basically kind of like a journal entry written November 24th, I don't know how many times I've read it, probably about 50 times. And he's got a gorgeous poem here that is a sad poem about the realities of being a farmer. It's called The Farmer and the Banker. I've read that poem over and over and over again. So I highly recommend After and Before the Lightning by Simon J. Ortiz. He's not only a good writer, he's a good teacher, and one of his lines always to me was when I was like, "Do you have a recommended reading list? Read everything. Do you read everything? Any tricks? Read. What can I do to read?" So I'm reading. Simon, this one's for you. Um, Winter poems along the Rio Grande. As you can see, I'm wearing a toque right now. It's winter. There was a extreme cold warning for days and days in my city. We actually had the power outage because of the cold. So yeah, it's not only winter, and there's a lot of people that are freezing in my city, and I'm wearing a toque as I speak to you. But I've decided to read some winter-themed things. So Winter Poems Along the Rio Grande by Jimmy Santiago Baca. Santiago Baca is mestizo and Apache. He did some prison time. He learned how to read and write in prison. He was a hardcore gangbanger before, and he's got many, 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 many books. And I'm a big fan of Jimmy Santiago Baca. So I'm going to enjoy this book, Winter Poems Along the Rio Grande. Leanne Howe, Evidence of Red. Poems and Prose. Leanne Howe is Choctaw. Choctaw, in the States they call them Indians. In Canada it's First Nations peoples, or just, I like the term Indigenous. She's an Indigenous woman of the Choctaw Nation, and she's a really, really, really good poet. I've got two videos that I took of her. Yeah, I actually got to meet her and videotape her. Look for the poem called Kickboxing and the other poem called Noble Savage. They're from this book, and she reads them for the Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel. I will be featuring Leanne Howe in the future, and I am excited to be reading this book again. Rosa Rose and Other Poems by Robert Priest. Robert Priest is a Toronto poet. This book is published by Woolsack and Wynne, which is a press that I really, really like, and they treat me well, actually. Woolsack and Wynne are good people to Black Coffee Poet. Not every press treats Black Coffee Poet well. Anyways, it's about Rosa Parks and racism, and I'm really excited about reading this book. Arguments with the Lake by Tanis Rideout. Again, another book by Woolsack and Wynne, and they gave me these books, and I'm really excited to read this. I love water and I love walking, and this book has a lot to do with water. Hey, it's about a lake and swimming in a lake, and a woman who crossed Lake Ontario, which is no easy feat. So I'm excited to read it. The Civic Mindedness of Trees by Ken Howe. There's some poems in here that I've already read that I've liked. I think there's some experimental stuff in this book. This book is obviously about the human relation to nature, amongst other things. So that's good for me. I'm not good with experimental poetry, but I'm gonna give it a read. You gotta expand your mind, try new things, enter what you think as the dark and fearful. And that's experimental poetry for me. So I'm excited to read The Civic Mindedness of Trees by Ken Howe. Also by Wosak and Win. Music Garden by Jim Nason. I really, really, really like Jim Nason. He's a Toronto poet. This guy wakes up at 5 a.m. every day to write before work. The guy can't even sleep sometimes. He's so excited about getting up to write. This is the second book of his that I'll be reading. Jim has agreed to give me some of his other books of poetry, but this is from Frontenac House. They're a press that also treats me very well. Thanks, Frontenac. And Music Garden is a book I'm excited to read, and I'll be featuring Jim Nason as well in the future. I already have reviewed his book, Narcissus Unfolding. You can find that on blackcoffeepoet.com. Just go to the search bar. He's on the Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel as well, and I interviewed him for blackcoffeepoet.com. So if you want to get to know who Jim Nason is, he's already on the website, and he'll be on the website again. Jim Nason is... he was a big-time activist for queer folk. He's queer himself, and his writing is just gorgeous, and I'm just excited to read this book. I've already read this book, A Night for the Lady by Métis poet Joanne Arnott. I read it last week. I reviewed it for Anishinaabe News. I will be doing a week on her for blackcoffeepoet.com as well. This book is gorgeous. It's a brand new book. It's for 2013. It's beautiful. There will be some poems in here that I'll be rereading and rereading again, especially On Apron Flapping. This poem is amazing, amongst others. But yeah, she really got me, and I'm like, whoa. But that's Joanne Arnott. She's also an amazing essayist, and I'm hoping to have a copy of her book of essays one day. Hint, 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 Joanne. Anyways, so We're in Click by Micheline Mailer. Oh, this book is by from Ronsdale Press. They're a press that treats me well as well. Anyways, Micheline Mailer, another book by Frontenac. Don't know much about Micheline. She runs a literature journal called Free Fall, from what I know. I don't know much about the book, but I'm going to dive into it, and I'm looking forward to it. Last but not least, A Bitter Mood of Clouds by Vivian Hansen. I met Vivian Hansen. She's a nice lady. I think these poems are a little bit experimental as well, but I'm going to jump into it anyways, and so let's get to it. So A Bitter Mood of Clouds, also published by Frontenac, which is a press that treats me well. Also, thank you, Frontenac. Gotta start acknowledging those people that treat you well. As a person who runs a website, who's not part of a big newspaper, some people just don't see me as worth the time of day. But that's okay. You know, they can be where they are, and I'm where I'm at, and y'all are with me because you're watching me. Thank you. So, I have added a new section to my reading lists, a section of literature journals. I love reading literature journals, and this was given to me by the person who runs Exile. This is Exile, the Literary Quarterly. I'm really impressed, to be honest, because they've got Umberto Eco in here, who translated some stuff for them. Umberto Eco wrote the book The Name of the Rose, which was then turned into a film starring Sean Connery. Awesome movie. I still have to read the book, though. Another poet who's in here is Anthony DiNardo, who I really like. So I'm excited to read the Exile Quarterly. Thank you very much, Exile, for giving me this book. Rampike. Carl Jurgens runs Rampike, and he's always been very nice to me. He gave this to me as well. He's given me free copies of the journal before, and he even sent me a copy of an all-indigenous issue, which I am going to review one day for blackcoffeepoet.com. I've already read 2 interviews in here. There are some great interviews in this. There's poetry, there's some experimental stuff which I don't really like, but I did appreciate the interviews, and I'm looking forward to reading the poetry. Thank you, Carl, for giving me this issue of Rampike. So, what are we looking at now? Oh, fiction. Again, going on with the theme of winter, Snow Falling on Cedars by David Gutterson. Got this book for free, and I'm excited about it. Yeah, free books come my way quite a bit. So it's winter, it's about a murder, there's a race involved in here, racism, which is something that I talk about a lot. And you can see on this t-shirt here, Homeland Security, the real people who fought for this land. And yeah, so just, excited to read this book. Last year I read Affliction by Russell Banks as my winter book. That was a novel as well. So I'm ready to dive into this one and very, very excited to do so. Another section, another new section that I've done here is anthologies. So let's look at some. Best Sex Writing 2008, edited by Rachel Kramer Bussell. I read her 2013 anthology. I reviewed it. There, the video is up on the Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel and blackcoffeepoet.com. I did a video review, my first ever video review. The 2013 issue was awesome. So I'm very excited to read 2008. And Rachel is so nice. She's such a beautiful woman in many ways. She has agreed to send me all the best sex writings that I don't have. Thank you, Rachel Kramer Bussell. Again, people who appreciate the work that I do. Thank you. So very excited to read this. And the cover is just, oh my. Sovereign Bones, New Native American Writing, edited by Eric Gansworth. I've had this book for a while, actually. I've only read a couple of essays in here. Of course, I jumped to the essay by Sherman Alexie, who's one of my favorite writers, and Simon J. Ortiz is in here, who I mentioned earlier. Read those, but I'm ready to read some more. This is a book of essays about being Native, Native literature, Native identity, Native life. A lot of, mainly Americans are in here. But that's cool. I'm excited to read it. Zoosh Redo, an Outrights anthology. Outrights is a writing group, a queer writing group that meets in the Toronto Village at the 519 Community Centre. It's run by a guy named Terrence, who's a sweetheart. And they put out a very short anthology. There's plays here, poetry here. I think there's some fiction in here. So I'm going to review it and feature them. And I used to actually attend back in the day, and they were very cool about me being straight and attending. So I'm going to, help out and give a little review here and interview them and put them on the YouTube channel as well. So, but for now, I gotta read the anthology first. Okay, on to one of my favorite sections, spirituality, self-improvement. Anyways, I practice an art called The Gentle Way, and you gotta look that up, do your homework. Anyways, I'm a person with a disability. I'm not as strong as people in the art that I practice. I've been injured many times, not only in the art, but just in life because of my disability. Been hospitalized 3 separate occasions and stuff like that. But anyway, so I really believe in the power of the mind. And so I'm rereading a book called Mind Gym, and it's really helping me with the gentle art. Anyways, the gentle way. Anyway, so check it out, Mind Gym, an athlete's guide to inner excellence. And it's not just for pro athletes, it's for recreationalists like me. I don't compete in anything because of my disability, but I do practice in art, and I'm very happy to do so. But this is a great book, Mind Gym. Check it out. Reaching for the Invisible God by Philip Yancey. Philip Yancey is one of my favorite writers. I put him in my top 10. There's a book called What Good is God that I read in 2013, around this time actually, around January, and that made my top 10 books of 2013. Anyways, I'm loving this book. I actually got to meet Philip Yancey. I went to hear him speak 2 weeks ago, and I took a photo with him, and I'm hoping to develop a relationship with him. The guy's good. He's on point, and as you can see, like, I highlight a lot of stuff. I'm an active reader. I highlight, I write in the margins, I journal about stuff that I read. Anyways, I'm really enjoying this book by Philip Yancey. So that's the spiritual part of the spiritual and self-improvement. And last but not least, reference. Advice to Writers, a compendium of quotes, anecdotes, and writerly wisdom from a dazzling array of literary lights. Picked this book up at Goodwill a while ago. I really like it. It's really funny. There's a lot of quotes in here, stuff that just keeps you moving. And yeah, I'm just happy to be reading quotes by people who've walked the path that I'm walking now. And there's like, oh, all kinds of stuff in here. I can't even tell you. Here, let me just read something. By Annie Dillard, a quote. A writer looking for subjects inquires not after what he loves best, but after what he alone loves at all. Cool. So yeah, something to think about. Oh, here, one by Nikki Giovanni, who's a queer black poet who I really like. Writers don't write from experience, though many are resistant to admit that they don't. I want to be clear about this. If you wrote from experience, you'd get maybe one book, maybe 3 poems. Writers write from empathy. And that's a good way to finish. So thank you very much for watching blackcoffeepoet.com and the Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel. If you want to join me in reading some of these books, please do so. Email me, blackcoffeepoet@gmail.com. Friend me on Facebook. I'm Black Coffee Poet. I'm on Twitter as Black Coffee Poet. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. As well, you can enter your email in a slot provided on the screen of blackcoffeepoet.com to start following the website. Thank you so much for joining me. Please keep reading. If you're a writer, keep writing. If you're a writer, you've got to read. But if you're just a reader, or no, not just a reader, if you are a reader and not a writer, thank you very much for reading people's words. Hopefully you'll be reading my stuff. Take care.